Welcome to this District Plan Committee meeting. We have present here in the chambers Councillor Granger, Dean, Murray Benge and myself. We also have council staff, Chris Watt, Rachel Davey and Rochelle Friend, all present via Zoom. I'm not aware of any other attendees we have online, I don't think. We have an apology from Councillor Gray for lateness, and we don't have any other apologies, do we?
At this point in time.
Yeah.
I'll apologise for Anne Henrik for lateness as well.
Okay, thank you for that. All right, do we have any declarations of interest in regard to this agenda? All right, in that case, we'll go to the matter on the agenda. There is some recommendations there on page 6, but I'll go to Mr. Watt. And do you want to speak to this report, Mr. Watt?
Yes, good morning, councillors. Yes, just a brief intro or background as to why we're here with this report. Obviously, the councillors will be aware of an ongoing project to, I guess, strengthen and align 2 Mile Creek. The original land use consent was approved under delegation by Commissioner Withey on the 4th of July 2019, and that was to obviously construct essentially a vertical sided concrete erosion protection structure down for 285 metres down 2 Mile Creek. As I understand things, council has since tendered for the construction of that work or for that particular structure, and they significantly exceeded the budget allocated on that project. Led council to consider alternative designs, and the result is, I guess, a locally placed rock-based erosion protection structure. So a lot more natural in its form, but obviously going through that change requires a change to the original consent that was approved, hence this variation. The result of the variation is such that only 2 consent conditions need to be changed, and they essentially relate to information, plans, and the like. There's no change to the performance conditions that were otherwise granted in that under that decision. I can advise that the Regional Council has since approved their variation to their consent, and we're essentially following the suit to bring the 2 consents into alignment. Oh, no, sorry, I should add, obviously, Commissioner Withey, as I said, heard the original one. We think it makes sense that Commissioner Withey also determines the variation. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris. Do we have any questions? Go to James.
Yes, thank you. I think I've heard the gist rehearsal, but I did have a question, Chris, about the what the difference between the Regional Council consent and the Western Bay consent was.
Yeah.
So can you outline what the purpose of each one is and why they're changing?
Yes, certainly. In terms of, if I outline the reasons for our consent, and these obviously relate to the original consent as presented, for the Western Bay plan was to undertake earthworks and establish structures within a floodable area. Second reason was for the establishment and use of a structure within the commercial, transitional, commercial, medium density residential and residential zones, and that was a non-complying activity, and for general earthworks in areas outside of the floodable area. So overall, our consent was non-complying. The regional were based under their water and land plan, and they had infringements to Rule 37 for the temporary discharge of sediment-laden stormwater to the creek during the construction period, to undertake earthworks in the riparian management zone, for placement and use of an erosion protection structure along the banks and within the bed of the creek, and to temporarily dam and divert the creek as part of temporary works to construct the erosion protection structure. So very much environmental, creek bed, sediment type, ecology laden reasons for consent, whereas ours are more structural and amenity. And obviously the variation that we're looking at now is purely around the change in form of that structure.
Thank you, that's clear. Thank you.
Thank you.
Happy to move the recommendation, sir. And I wish to thank Chris for the detailed response to the questions. It was very helpful.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, we're assuming that that report has been duly resolved. We can't hear anything.
We did, Rachel. It's all
Oh.
done and dusted.